Good evening, one and all. I want to just welcome you back to tonight's live. I did promise that if the results were favorable for Jamaica, I would come back with maybe not as long as as usual, my 1 hour whatever. It's not won't be a long program tonight. It could get lengthy because I'm expecting a couple of guests to come back on to kind of share in their celebration. I'm going to be having, let me just announce myself here. I'm Stafford Perkins. The program is Under the Spotlight, and we are looking again at this competition, AfricaTown International Design Idea Competition. I will play, what would I play? I'm going to play a clip to kind of just keep us company while I send out some invites. All right. Again, good evening. Good evening. Uh, Welcome to this. It might be shortened version of Under the Spotlight. Um, I just want to say that I'm coming back this evening as promised last night, that when we learn the results of this competition, we would come back and hopefully we will get some kind of reactions from at least one of the people involved in the competition, and that's more than likely Mr. Kambui. I don't know, he's supposed to join me. I know he said he was being given a tour of the place. I hope he has not been taken down into some cave or something. But I guess the minute he sees that he's been called on to come on this live, he will show up. But I will try to do a little talking through the thing as of now. As since Saturday, we have been carrying this program because when we found out that I think he's here. Give me 1 minute, please. Let me see if I can find out what his position is. Come out. Mm-hmm. Yes, the link is there. Just feed it to the gentleman. Oh boy. Come on, I will talk about it. Just link up the. I'm live. I'm going live. I'm calling your name, so you better find some spot and put your face in that camera and come on right now. I know. Do what you can do. Yeah, do what you can do. We go early, so. Mm. When you come on board, you tell us where you are, because I think I think he was having too much fun. So stand by there with a gentleman. He could even use his own camera too. I can accommodate both of you. Mm. Right. Just go to the link and come on and let's talk. We will just it's live. Right. It's live, so we will work with anything. Ex, except for the noise, right? Tell them to hold on and if you can stay away from the noise. If you can get reception if you have a car and you can get reception, it might work. All right, so we are talking to Mr. Kambui. He was probably having too much fun and forgot that he's join us at this time. But wow, you have to get out of that noise. It's not going to work. Yeah, go in the car or something. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right, so Mr. Kambui is by a gentleman's home, and I could hear the voice of the babies who are looking for attention. So it wasn't going to work here, so I asked him to maybe go in a vehicle or something, and then we're going to get this interview. It might not be very bright because they're in Mobile, Alabama. Mobile is 1 hour behind New York, so they still have a bit of daylight. So we'll try to get on fast. But as I was saying before, the team Jamaica, they copped the bronze medal. If there's some kind of athletics event, it would have been, would regard it as a bronze because they got third prize. And I think when you look at the number of people who started out in the competition, there were over 120 of them. At the end of the day, I think it narrowed down to about 40 because it's a very giant project. And if people, who would have entered it would think it was easy, some of them would have dropped out along the way because it was a very large, these are 4 segments to it. And these are very large projects. Each component, each that they do, they're all large projects. And I'm going to let him talk about his part in it again. He's going to bring on a gentleman from the community. We're going to have to go through very fast because the light is fading fast. Hopefully they can get the camera to show their faces, but he can tell us about the day's event, what happened, who won the first prize, and possibly if he has something, who got second. And then, so we'll have an understanding of what happened, because he told me something about the first prize, and I don't want to preempt him. I want him at least to bring the information. And I don't have the names and all that in my head, because I quickly saw it in WhatsApp. I could probably try to see if I can see where he mentioned it. So if he doesn't get on, I can go to his WhatsApp message, which he sent to me earlier. But it's Mr. Kambui. And so it's a very important piece of news, and Jamaica could very well benefit from this type of thing. I am going to even try to see. Oh, this doesn't affect anything. You should still be seeing me. There is something I'm going to try to capture to bring on this. And Jamaica might have just established a good link in this town. All right. As I'm speaking to you, I'm trying to capture something to put up on the screen to keep ourselves a little busy until we see him come on board. They're trying to, because he's away from his base, away from his home. He's a visitor in Alabama. He ran into one of the people who showed up, who showed up in one of the documentary. A young guy who showed up in the documentary. There's a particular man who I saw in there, and I hope that is him. So bear with me a second as I capture this photo of Mr. Kambui down. Look like he's having fun down in I think I did that already. Yeah. See, he's having fun down in Alabama. The lady, I'm going to show you a lady's face, and that lady, she is the one she's one of the organizers. And let me see, just a clip, logo. Sometimes I don't even know which one of these things belong to where. That's a video clip. I'm trying to bring up a picture of a photo here. Anyway, so let me see if this will work. All right, give me 1 second as I wait for him to come on, because we're going to kind of cut it short. I'm going to see if this. There he is. I think I see him. No, this is not what I want here. Overlay. There's another. Let me see if I can get it from this selection. All right. Just bear with me a second. He's coming on right about now, and we're gonna go straight to him for him to tell us. Let me see if this will work. I'm bringing up a photo of him and the lady, the organizer. All right, I think this will work. I hope you're hearing me. No. All right. Okay, that was Mr. Kambui and one of the organizers of the event. I'm trying to stall. I think I have to turn him on. That's why he's not there. Right. There he is. He And that gentleman, if you can, because did you hold the camera horizontally because it might work better? Try
So,
horizontal. Yeah, let me see. You might be able to get in there better. So small, reduce the size of the, push out your. We can see you guys now. Just a little smaller picture. Yeah, push it out a little bit
yeah,
more.
yeah.
Right, shift to one, maybe the left or something, because a good amount of space is to one side. That's it. You're right there. If you stay right there, and just tell us about what's going on. We are looking at Mr. Kambui and one of the members of the community of AfricaTown. Mr. Kambui, I'm going to ask you to lead off and kind of just talk to me a little bit about what went on today. Then you can introduce the gentleman to tell us about himself and his relationship to that community and how it all came together. All right?
Okay, so today we were officially notified as being selected third place in the competition in Site 1, which is the historic Africa Town. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good.
Right. So Africa Town Site 1 is the project that we selected, and our first and second place winners. The second place winner I think was from China. Um,
Wow,
Large
China.
organization, yes. And also the first place winner was from New York, a large African American firm in New York.
Mhm.
So for four Jamaicans to really make third place with our limited resources and personnel, we did quite well in achieving third place because we're
Excellent.
up there with you know people with more resources,
Right.
human resources. Yes.
Right. I want to ask you, I know you might not have your documentation with you or anything. Anything you can remember the name of the company that won? And I think you mentioned about a school being connected to that company. Maybe you won't remember the.
I don't recall the name of the company now, but I can get that to you later. But it's a large firm. They actually applied. They actually registered for more than one site
Okay.
to show you the scope. Because we couldn't. I mean, it was the one site was too much for us. So
Mm.
for a company to be able to do three or four,
Mm.
that's significant resources that they would have applied to it.
Did they win anything in the other categories?
I think yeah, they either won or they placed in other categories. Yes,
Mm.
I will be able to give you the details as soon as I
And you said
go to my.
I think you mentioned that the firm is a black-owned firm
It's a
from New York.
black-owned firm. Yes, yes, and they
Mm.
also collaborated with students from Tuskegee University.
Well, for those who might not know, Tuskegee is a black university, and do you remember where Tuskegee is located? I think it's the same Alabama.
Alabama, yes,
Alabama,
Alabama.
yeah, yeah. Because somebody I know who went to Tuskegee, somebody from Jamaica who I know, Eloise's brother went to Tuskegee. He's an
Right.
agriculturalist, and that's great. So, but I just believe that it looks to me like you could be named. I wouldn't give you give you a title as big as a penny potentiary, one of them big name titles, but you could be what them call them honorary ambassador, in Alabama. But talk to me about. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, let me introduce you to this
Yes.
gentleman who's standing to my right. It's probably
Mm-hmm.
showing up as he left. But this
Mm-hmm.
is Chief Lewis. This is a gentleman who shows up in one of the documentaries that you'll find on
Yes.
YouTube. He's
Yes.
a retired Navy officer,
Okay.
and his name is Chief Lewis.
Yeah.
And we're actually standing on the property of the Mobile County Training School, a
Okay.
very significant institution in the lives of Africatown residents. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to let him introduce himself. We have been having, I mean, our connection has been made, and he has been giving me a personalized tour of
Yes.
Africatown,
Yes.
and he has consented to come and speak with you. And there is this link, this natural connection.
The spiritual
That,
link, man. Don't be
yes, yes,
afraid
yes.
to
And
say
I
the
told him a while
spiritual
ago. He
connection.
reminded me
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
community reminded me of the Maroon community in Jamaica. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna let him talk with you and just give you an idea.
All
All
right,
right,
Chief.
Sean.
Tell me as much as possible about yourself. How you grew up, where you grew up, how how was it like growing up? How was it the place changed for you? All that kind of good stuff.
Okay, well, as he stated, we've done a good job today, talking today and answering the question between each other. Who are we to each other? Because
Mm.
out of all of those juggernauts that came in first and second place,
Yeah.
you see who's standing here with me, with a person that owns property in AfricaTown and can actually move forward with a lot of the stuff that's going on and take it from being an imagination to something actually happening.
Yes.
I grew up here for 18 years. Never heard of the story of Africatown because I grew up in the projects. I grew up in the ghettos here. And
Mm.
by the time I came along, Africatown, as most people knew it, had been collapsed by colonialism, Jim Crow, and then finally the drug epidemic. And so a lot of people don't relate the
Mm.
drug epidemic and the war on drugs to stopping West Africans' success from moving forward. But that's exactly what happened because my generation and the majority of that, if we made it out of the projects and became something, it was because we escaped and really committed atrocities to our community because it created what most people call the brain drain. And a
Mm.
lot of the young talent left and never looked back. And so the community that had been established by these West Africans that were basically war captives sold off by King Lele, they ended up being the people not only to establish this community, but beautifully, one of the sites that your firm actually designed, we're standing on right now, and it's in its ancestral territory. And
Mm.
he was obliged enough to not only just come and hear what's going on, but
Mm.
walk these grounds with us. We've been walking for at least 1.5 miles to
Mm.
get an in-depth view of some of the stuff that he's seen on video. And
Yes.
so why am I standing here and how I got here? To be honest, brother, I was going to continue the brain drain. I would have been working a high level job in Minneapolis, Minnesota right now with my wife and 4 kids. And I was convicted. I came back and started doing volunteer work back in Africatown.
Mm.
And by the time that I finished my first 2 years of doing that volunteer work and finishing off 5 years left on a 24-year career, I had to go to my wife and make a sound decision not to leave because if I had left, it would have been one less black professional here
Mm.
to keep our land from being sold off and keep our story from being told. And when I say
Mm.
story, as I said, I never knew any of my history here in this community. I never knew of those descendants that came from West Africa. And I definitely didn't know that I had uncles and aunts that was involved in leadership in the community because my best friend had been paralyzed by the time I was in the 6th grade. My other best friend had committed murder, and another friend was murdered. So by the time I got to the 8th or 9th grade, I didn't realize that the middle school that I was going to was the high school of those Africans that established it, that produced some of the greatest thinkers and athletes in this nation. In this 5 square mile radius per capita, we have more household names in the entire globe that if I said one of the names, you would know it in
Go ahead.
Europe or in America.
Go ahead. Test
And
me.
so it speaks to our African excellence. We had a beautiful conversation about we were talking about track stars and how Jamaica has continued a lot of the cultural traditions because of the concentration of our people being there uninterrupted.
Mm.
Less some of the colonial issues y'all went through with Britain, y'all really had an uninterruption because you had more of each other there and less of a lot of people impeding on your territory
Mm.
physically being there. Here in America, we equated it to the SEC and how no one can figure out why Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Georgia keeps winning national championships down here, and it's because of the concentration of the DNA of our people
Mm.
coming from Africa. And so,
Mm.
with that being said, we're in another pinnacle point where our narrative could be almost hijacked. But beautifully, this design competition showed up at a time to where it needed this level of excellence. The designs that he produced has outdone any design that I've seen since I've been here in 5 years. And you have companies that have gotten contract to build here. That's
Wow.
not our people with less standards and still
Mm.
giving contracts because we don't own the rights to it. Well, I own the rights to the property that I have here, And though many people have not been able to put a camera in my face, and I've done less interviews, and you obviously see me in a documentary that the United States Navy did. I'm
Yeah.
also in another documentary, and I also did the behind the scenes of a documentary with Samuel Jackson
Okay.
that he did on epics. A
Mm.
lot of people don't know that because I don't talk to a lot of people, because I
Mm.
see people for who they are. I
Mm.
also understand the importance of making sure our people place value on each other when we come around. And so
Mhm.
it's a reason why I shared with him that Natalie Robinson, one of the writers of one of the most successful books in AfricaTown and about AfricaTown, also did a lot of edits for the book that I just wrote called The Making of a Chief, where I share my biography. And
Mm.
so the biggest thing that I can tell you about what counts now about me being here is making sure my children know who they are and where they're from and their African identity, but also that they understand that the land and the properties that we now own in Africatown,
Mm.
that they should have a legacy attached to them that basically says, we're not going to let anything. Look, here go one right here. Come here.
The candle and the sign is off.
They say
Yeah,
hi.
right. We looking at legacy right here.
Say hi to the
Wait.
people.
Yeah, so this is my little mighty man right here, Jabari Lewis. I really want to close with this. Beautifully, we've been talking about mystical happenings.
Yeah, I see you know your ABC.
There you go. He needed to make his appearance and he's gone.
Yeah,
I think one of the most important conversations that we basically just had is some of the divine things that's tied him to this and how he ended up being a part of this project. And some of the conversations that we had, you really can't make up right now. He's designed some of the spaces that's right in the vicinity of some of the land that I own. And so in all of these interviews and all these documentaries, nobody knows that my aunt and uncle were the Adams family, the Nelson Adams family, who had a middle school named after them and who owned more property in Africatown than the Mayer family, who was the plantation owners there. They also haven't thought to figure out that my uncle is R.J. Lewis, and that over time, he's passed down history to me that I can now place inside of the properties that I own that I'm showing this young man right now. And so if he does a good enough job, your firm might have the first rights of refusal for some of the designs that we're working on right now.
Sound good. You know, you sounded like you're being a little, I know the last point. You have said so much, and I want to hit back and ask you to expand a bit on some of the things. Tell us who's R.J. Lewis for start, because not everybody's going to know that.
All right, so Colonel R.J. Lewis, if you go to Google and put in PBS Colonel R.J. Lewis, you will see a second generation Tuskegee Airman who was one of the curators for the Tuskegee Aviation Museum, and it was a pilot for one of the greatest pilots that actually, one of the first African-American pilots that flew the Caribbean. My cousin R.J. Lewis took him for a birthday flight back to that flight that he flew. He's also one of the greatest thinkers in the state of Alabama, and is on the board for the Huntsville Science Museum up in Huntsville, Alabama, and sits on that board.
Now let me say this. What is it? How would you like to see all of this done? Because I know sometimes jealousy can come into play. Everybody is trying to one up man the next man, and things like that. Is that kind of a problem within our community? And when I speak of the community, I'm talking Black people wherever in the diaspora, you know, because ultimately our base is the continent, African continent. Wherever we are, you at least have a good idea where you came from, which exact location you guys came from. We can only try with DNA and those kind of things, you know, and what they call that, something.
Yeah, the ancestry searches and all that.
Yeah, do that kind of stuff. But what is it that you would like to see happen for this town?
I want to see what Africatown looks like when it's imagined in a way, if those Africans would have continued uninterrupted by colonialism or the mass incarceration of our people and the continued onslaught on our culture. Africatown was the center of Mobile for a long time. People would come here to eat, They would come here to party, and they would come here to be around our people because we created an atmosphere that was so successful that it lingered all the way through, all the way into the time where I graduated high school, when most of the state championships was won, most of the essays championships was won at these high schools. Most of, if not all of the great writers was coming out of the schools that was founded by this school. And so one of the most important things that I shared with him was Mobile County Training School, the administrators and the coaches left this school and produced the other African-American high schools in the area. It was a middle school now that I knew about, but before I got there, my mom and my dad graduated from the high school.
Can you,
and so,
can you be specific about some of the writers and some of the noted people of note who have evolved from that community?
yes, I'm gonna give one that you can definitely look up. So Taraji P. Henson played the role of one of our great namesakes by the name of Cantana Starks. Miss Cantana Starks graduated from this high school, went to Tennessee State University, and she created the first African-American golf team that ended up winning an NCAA championship. She was a graduate of Mobile County Training School, which was the excellence of these West Africans that was established here. It's a movie called Out of the Rough.
Out of the rough. What do you think? How do you think, you know, the move, how can they best start it to see the revitalization of this place? Do they have...
It starts in what you brought up to me and when you initially asked the question. With all of this static that exists between us as Africans globally, not African Americans, not British, not London, not Jamaicans, but as Africans, period, we have to have a revival and a reconciliation between one another just so we can see the value in one another. Because it's a huge problem when we come in a room with each other. I think there's so much excellence between each other. We have not disseminated on how to work together as a team without trying to be the one stand up and say me, rightfully so, because so many of us have been starved of resources, starved of being able to have a place to where we can just sit in our excellence, and really starved of prestige. Because when you went to Africa and you went to the Kingdom of Mali, and when you went to kingdoms of Kemet and Egypt, they had places of prestige to where all levels of society was operating. And so we have to revisit how and where we start our history to even get to what you just asked. We have to have a value between one another before we can move into what does it look like for us to move forward successfully. And I'm going to tell you basically off the conversation that we just had, we need real leaders. And I'm talking about people that can shut up, go to work, and not pay attention to all these schisms, because our Caucasian grandchildren continue to use those schisms to stay a step ahead of us. And so all we have to do is bat our eye once and wake up and look and see that we have what they want. We just need to figure out how to find the right Negroes that ain't going to trip up over themselves in getting to it. And so, brother, it's a reason why I did not commit myself to being in the movie Descendant. Yes, I did have cameras following me around for 48 hours. Yes, I did have a conversation that could have put me around the globe and under the Obamas and all that different stuff. But no, I'm not beholden to anybody because I just finished 24 years in the Navy. And so when I found out or felt in my gut that it wasn't going to be something that directly affected the narrative that I wanted to see, I declined to be in that Netflix special. And so when I tell you our people finding worth in each other ain't just talk for me, I'm not after anything but making sure we own the land and we own the narrative. So the conversation we can have, it really means something. Yeah, I'm talking about means something in a way where we didn't jump off a slave ship. We came over here before Columbus. And so there's a narrative that goes with that, to where the lion is going to get an opportunity to tell that story. And that lion's going to get an opportunity to tell that story real soon. Just sit back.
All right, before I go out, because I want to connect something to Mr. Kambui or Kamau. Chief, what is your last name? Is it the chief a title or is it your name?
Yeah, this is the chief. I just retired from the U.S. Navy. The reason why the title stuck, because when you go through the rites of passage as the chief in the Navy, it carries on with you, but it's literally carried on with me in the neighborhood. And that's all they knew me as, Chief Lewis, because I came over here while I was still on active duty.
Okay.
Jason Lewis, JASONLEWIS.
And Jason, I know, Chief. I'm gonna call you Chief. Not the, not,
Emancipation. Juneteenth.
That's got to be what that is.
yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna call you anything else after this, but Chief, because that position you're holding, they need to reestablish that title in your community and make you Chief, because you have a lot of
I just told him that.
Look, I'm gonna stay low, keep getting land, and then we can make me whatever after all that.
You're going to have to crawl out of that shell, man. I'm telling you right now.
Stafford, listen, I have my data is
don't let him go. I wanna say something to him. Don't let him go.
Yeah, well, he's coming back.
Yeah.
But my data is getting low, so we're gonna have to wrap it up shortly, right?
Right. I just want him to say something to him while you're sitting there, because based on something else he said, but when he comes back, hopefully. But
Yeah.
so how have the people that have they like been gravitating towards you, rallying around you since you've been
Well,
there?
let me tell you what was said to me by the organizer. I did a recorded acceptance speech, and they said to me that they were talking amongst themselves to say that they would not touch one bit of my acceptance speech because it spoke to what they really wanted out of the project. As a matter of fact, the chief juror, I think it's Travis. His name is Travis. He basically summed up all of what I said in my presentation, my acceptance speech, when I did mine earlier. So it's just the synchronizing of thought in terms of the same principle, what he thinks that African architecture ought to be. So there is a cohesiveness in terms of the approach in identifying what Black architecture is or African architecture. And he said something that I also shared back in the day when I was in school. You wondered, where is our architecture? Where is our African architecture? And he was asking himself the same questions too. But today, we have come full circle where we have now been able to identify African architecture as it has been exhibited in our proposal, our concept, right? I mean, when they found out that I was in the audience, I have pictures. They're really happy to know that I came to spend the time with them, and it was like a homecoming. As a matter of fact, the organizer has connections to some of the architects in Jamaica because they went to school, the same school in England, in London, right? So there's a strong connection there. So it's like it's a very close, familiar experience.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But
I want to say something. I want to say something to the chief. Chief, I don't know if he's a modest kind of guy, and you see him, he will tell you things. But this man designed a park in Jamaica. The park was a dust bowl for the longest while. It is a world-renowned park right now. And there's a second one that he was supposed to work on, but some idiot came along, became the prime minister, and that got stalled. I know if he gets the support and whatever it will cost to put it together, I know you're going to have a place that is going to come back. He has that type of skill and that type of knack. So, I'm looking forward. I was coming, but because of the whole thing with the airline thing, it's got so really ridiculously expensive. I don't know if they figured that people would be traveling down for that and they would make a killing. But, it was just way too expensive. But we are going to come back down there because if he's going to...
Before Chief comes back on, let me just say this. When I got up on Sunday and I went to the church, I actually hoped that I would have met persons who would have actually, showed me around. It didn't happen that day, but today, after the ceremony, it was just like a natural connection, and it turned out that I got a full tour of the place. I mean, it's a part of the whole connection, mystic connection continues.
Yeah, I like to kind of advise people and tell them do this and do it. Remember, I said to you, when you go talk to everybody, don't get numbers, talk to them, don't pass up anybody. And maybe this is who the man was, you know, the spirit was telling me to say, look out for somebody. And because
But
this is
Chief, maybe you can just say what your impression of the project proposal, and how does it resonate with you?
Yeah, well, it gives us the level of excellence that I wish I would have saw the year one when I got back. So we really got to put this in perspective.
Mm,
We were voted in and notarized as a historic community back in 2012, not
mhm.
2022, not 2021, not 2020.
It's
Back in
like,
2012, the community was noticed as one of the most historical spaces in the United States in 2012. So the question is, how come has it taken this long to get the level of excellence that the architects have brought in? That's the first big question. If we jump backwards to 85 and 86, when Jesse Jackson, John Lewis, and a delegation of West Africans came to the community to begin to produce open trade between us and Benin and a space that reconnects Africa with us. The big question is, why wasn't an opportunity given to our talented architects and designers and engineers to create the type of space that he showed that we saw today? Now, to answer that question, with this frame of understanding what happened and why is it happening now, it's going to be so important for us to use his designs to raise the resources and the funds and to bring. It's going to be private money. It may not be government money. It's going to be some private donor that comes in and probably sees this video or sees the fact that you got a kid from the project talking to a brilliant man saying, hey, I got land that I came here and worked my butt off to get. We need designs for it, and my community deserves the designs you got, but we need to find somebody that has the cojones to stand up and say, how do we make these designs a reality and not just somewhere in our imaginations? Because
yeah.
what's been happening is a lot of people have done this, and I've been watching it, and to be as objective as I can,
Mm,
it's not just our fault that we've
mm,
had to meet and talk and talk and talk
mm.
and be considered the majority. We're the global minority.
Yeah.
I feel like if we got a campaign with the designs that he brought in, his designs are better than the people that was contracted to do the AfricaTown Welcome Center. His designs make them look like elementary work with stick people. And that's
Wow.
just not me talking. That's the reality.
I want to ask you this before we lose. It's data is running out. I know I watched a documentary, a little sort of documentary, where they talk about the smokestacks and billowing out all of this poison and thing, and people have actually gotten cancers and all kinds of things. How has that changed? Have they cleaned up their acts? Have you started a lawsuit against these companies? Because maybe that's where you could get some of the seed money to start this project.
Zero has changed, even up to the point to where this documentary has brought global attention to. And I say global attention, the neighborhood got picked up by the World Monuments Fund, and it's mentioned in the same conversation with Egypt. You can't stop years of detriment just because people are outside of the community globally want to do something good for it. You can't take away the industry that was planted there back in 1965 and a company that's still there now that built itself illegally directly behind where people live at, and only was fined about $5,000, and they're still operating and functioning. And so what needs to happen is we need somebody that's going to come and show up and just take or demand respect for our community in a way where there's lawyers, there's thinkers, there's analysis, and there's a strategic plan that launches us into a 100-year plan of what it looks like. Africa right now has a 63 or 64-year plan that all of us need to know about. That they have a plan for what they need to look like. And even though it's so many other people coming in with an opinion about what needs to take place with our people, we need to tie this architectural plan to the plans of our people and then get dollars attached to these ideas and just do them. Period. It's no way that I can show back up in only about 3.5 years and already obtain properties in AfricaTown where people have been out here since at least the 80s, and all of the property is falling up under tax losses. Now investors are coming in and buying other properties, and it seems as though we have no million or billionaire Africans around the world that can tune in and say, how can I tap into somebody so we can preserve our culture, because the narrative is literally at risk of being hijacked by people just because they have more money than us.
Chief, I don't want Mr. Kambui's data to run out. I would like to invite you back another time when we have unlimited, data. We can chat and go into someone. And as the project starts and is developing along the way, I'd love to be speaking to you some more in the future. Kamau, is there anything else you want to say before we cut out?
Well, all I can say is what has happened since I came here on Saturday to now has made my trip one that, I mean, it's priceless in terms of the experience that I've gained, and I think things are going to happen. It's a big step, and I think things are going to move forward. With somebody like Chief, I think it's going to happen.
For a quick second, and sometimes the only thing you're going to end is when the things start coming in the mind. The politicians in your area, who have you been getting involved? Because one of the things I noticed, Alabama, I think, even has a black majority, but they don't represent well in the political sphere. Is there anybody there who you can say you can pull into this orbit to help you push and drive this thing?
AfricaTown was voted as a historical district back in 2012. We're in 2023. At a minimum, you had great thinkers like Michael Figures, representatives like Bill Clark, Henry C. Williams, community historians that did a phenomenal job of connecting with the continent of Africa to make our people be in a position of prosperity. So if you're asking that question now, and it's been a historic district since 2012, and you and I are talking about this, you're not even here.
I think the data is finished. I'm so sorry. I was warned that the data was gonna go.
Yeah, if you're asking that question right now, you already know the answer to it.
We're gonna have to talk some more because I see it's getting a little dark,
I'll give him a link up for you so you can.
Yes, and so we can continue this. And I can tell you, if there's any way the resources can be found, I know everybody in that place will be proud, will be pleased, will be happy, and probably won't let them back out of AfricaTown. All right, so looking forward.
Yeah, thank you. Have your people, if you want to get any information about it or bring your people here, go to AfricaTownTours.com, and also get your people to purchase the book that I just wrote, The Making of a Chief by Chief Lewis. You can go to AfricaTownTours.com and go to my merchandise section and purchase the book, or go to AfricaTownTours.com and visit AfricaTown through there and set up a visit. And you can also look at the documentary that the United States Navy did on me. The Navy spent a lot of money on that documentary.
And what's the name of it?
All right, look up AfricaTown USA and then put in U.S. Navy, and you can see the documentary. But I also have the documentary on my website. It's AfricaTownTours.com. Just go to that website, send me an email, and you can get whatever information you're looking for.
Chief, thank you for coming on. Kamau, congratulations to the team and all those lovely people, Jenna and Miss Himoni. Congratulations to you guys.
And Jillian.
And Jillian. We keep leaving out Jillian out.
All right. So I got to get back to base so I can let them know I'm okay, because I haven't touched base with them in a while.
All right, sir. I see the light going dark, so something.
Yes, it is.
We're going to talk soon.
All right.
Have a good night.
Good.
All right. So let me just say to my people, turn that off. Thank you for joining. Please share. Please comment. Please subscribe. This is a very special day. It might look like, a small thing, but you can rest assured that you're going to have even African countries who are going to get involved in this, because this is where they have come to realize this is where some of their children are. They know about us in Jamaica. They know about us across the Caribbean. They know about us across the North and South America. Well, this is North America, of course. But here's a town that they've pretty much held on to a lot of the traditions. It has dwindled over time because of poor support, poor maintenance. But the thing is coming, it has come full circle because they have discovered them, and it is going to be redeveloped. I want to thank everybody for joining. Please, again, share, subscribe. Help me to build this channel so that I can bring more programs like this. Because now that we have this very good connection down in Alabama, in AfricaTown, we can even go visit AfricaTown from time to time to see how are we progressing. I know that there's a lady, I did put up her picture earlier with, I won't be able to speak when it's going, I just put it for a minute. That lady, she, yeah, I think actually it worked. That lady, she's one of the organizers, and one of them kind of women, head cook and bottle washer kind of woman. Anything the women are in, black women are in, it's almost sure to work. And she brought this program to this stage. It is now to take it to the next stage. And we have a Jamaican in there, and whoever amongst us who knows Emancipation Park, the work of Kamau Kambui. That place, it seemed like the spirit can never dim in that place, because people still go there for taking pictures, and they want to go when the wedding day, they want to just go relax. Sometimes when I go down to Jamaica and I'm in New Kingston, I just go down to that park, not because I know Kamau, but the place, it just gives you this feeling of relaxation. And what is so disappointing to me, the big disappointment to me in this government that presently holds office in Jamaica, this Andrew Holness government, is that they never gave Kamau the chance to finish. Portia Simpson Miller, which a lot of people put down, Portia Simpson Miller had commissioned the park to be built. It would have been above that park at what we call Heroes Park, across from the Ministry of Finance, where this man wants to turn. He was told not to do it, and he doesn't care a hoot about, and I'm talking about Andrew Holness, because he can make some rip-off money out of it or something like that. He has stopped that project, and he's not considering the value of that park. That park at Heroes Park, which, what was it? What we were gonna call it? What were we gonna call it? Heritage Park or some? It might have been Heroes Park. A lot of the great people in Jamaica, who some of them are getting ready to move on. They were supposed to be. Space was set aside in there for them. We saw. I might have been Toots was the last one to just ease into there. But all of our greats should have a monument in there. We should have a monument in there to Bob Marley. We should have a monument in there to Peter Tosh. We should have a monument in there to Bunny Wailer, to Gregory Isaacs. All of them, culture, Joseph Hill from Culture, and whoever else of these great people who laid down the tracks for us, who gave this country, Jamaica, the name that it has today, where people were every corner of the earth, whether it be Russia, whether it be China, whether it be some far corner of Europe, Eastern Europe, Africa, you say Jamaica, you say reggae music, you say Bob Marley, you say Peter Tosh, they know them. And we watch this man taking this big white elephant, take away the land that place is supposed to put down as a heritage to us, to our future, to our children, that they can go there and reflect. Because the concept that is in that, one day, the next time I get a chance, because I didn't set it up, is to do the flyover of what that place is supposed to look like. And we are being denied that potential. It would have been a great money earner, and we are being denied it. And Mr. Kambui was ready to put that in place, and he has been stopped because they changed the plan and they want to put a building in there instead. We need parks for people to go to reflect, to cool out their minds with the madness that is going on around here, with the murders that are taking place. If you don't give people a chance, if you don't give them somewhere where they can go and reflect and just ease their mind, just relax and decompress, de-stress themselves, the features that were coming for that park, it would have been a world, something that would be talked about in the world. I've been noticing of late in places like Ethiopia, they are just pushing out parks. They're like birthing parks like crazy, because one of the things you have to give people, you have to give them a space, green space, somewhere where they can just go and relax and reflect. If you don't do that, you are building trouble. We should be getting more parks. We should be getting more beaches. You're closing off beaches. You're closing off rivers. You're closing off parks. You're shutting down parks. If you don't do that, you're not having a country. Buildings alone don't do it. Buildings don't have any soul. People have souls, and they bring life to a city. If I'm one day I'm going to go into New York City, I'm going to show you what they have done to some of the main streets in Times Square, how they have shut them down, cut them up, and create space. They have created space for people to just go and relax in the middle of a day. No more vehicular traffic running through there, but people can just stop for a minute and have a cool drink and just reflect for a few minutes. That is where we need to be going to build the mentality of the people, having them running and end up in some little rat holes where they just don't see any hope. When if you just put them in a park where they could just relax, watch some kind of movies, watch some kind of motivational speech, watch some kind of motivational something, because it's a component of that park at Heroes Park. It's supposed to have like a learning center. When you walk through it, it takes you down to the experience of from the first slave ship landed to walk down, and you feel like you're walking into this place. All of that has been shut down because somebody who doesn't have the vision. And we have seen Mr. Kambui. He went into this competition with one younger, no experience. She was learning from him. He's actually her, she's an understudy to him, and he's bringing her along. She's apprenticed to him, and she's learning a lot. A great landscape architect is on the list, and he talked about this other lady named Jillian, who she looks after putting the writing, the scripting or the narrative together. 4 of them put it together, and yet and they went up against huge companies, and they were able to come through and to place 3rd. It might sound like nothing to people who has nothing to do with it, but it's a huge thing. You might pretty soon the United Nations and other countries are going to come knocking at his door if he gets that thing built. And this is America. Once somebody hears about it, we're going into election again. Once you can bring these politicians into play and say, hey, we need this money, they're going to get the money and it's going to be built. And a Jamaican name will be on it. Because I can tell you, people are going to make sure that he gets those things. And you hear that man, Chief Lewis, listen to him keenly what he's saying. Again, I'm up on just about the hour mark. I want to play us out with the same one clip that I played for the evening. I want to play it to just say again why we are here. We are here for AfricaTown. We are here to highlight what went on there. A Jamaica team got the 3rd place. And if you heard what that man said, Chief Lewis said, he feels that design values outweighs everything else, whoever has won, because there's some big companies, multi-billion-dollar companies that won. A Chinese company came in there and won something too, and he came 3rd. So he was up against giants. And when the Chinese are anything, the government are there too. So we just want to say thank you for joining. Please share, subscribe, like, comment, do all that kind of nice things. All right, I'm going to play us out